Thank you. So that does bring us to the opening of the meeting. And Section 2, approval of the agenda. So I need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it passes unanimously. Thank you. Section 3 is recognitions, and before we get to our regular part of that, I just want to recognize Mark Brundage, the fire chief of Ocean City Wright, and thank him for the opportunity for 2 scholarships for any senior who's interested in obtaining that scholarship, who is 18 by August and who can pass a physical agility test and write a professional resume. That has been shared on Facebook, and all of us, I think, have shared it, and I announced it this morning. So thank you, Mark. Raise your hands. Everybody knows if you need any assistance, he is here and he can answer your questions after our meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. So 3.1, very exciting, recognition of the 2023 Secondary K-12 Assistant Principal of the Year, Victoria Hurley, presented by our superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair and School Board. You know, last school board meeting, we recognized our elementary Assistant Principal of the Year and Principal of the Year. And today we're fortunate enough to do our secondary Assistant Principal of the Year and secondary high school Principal of the Year. So I want to say first, as it pertains to Ms. Hurley over at Baker School, and she's been there as the Assistant Principal, I believe, since 2015. And you look at an Assistant Principal and what you want those individuals to embody, and you want them to be someone who's an instructional leader, you want them to be someone who's courageous, someone who's there for their faculty and staff, and most importantly for their students, but someone who's also that right arm of the principal, and someone who's there to help that principal move the school forward. And when you think about all these qualities, all these characteristics, that is Ms. Hurley. She's a former Teacher of the Year for Okaloosa County. She's a former IR teacher, a coach, but she is a person who absolutely embodies educator, not just administrator. I think if you said to Mr. Martello, what might you do if Ms. Hurley didn't show up to work tomorrow? I think he would have some interesting words for us. But that's what you want as a principal. You want your assistant principal to be someone who you can absolutely count on, lean on, and depend on. And that's not only Mr. Martello and the other assistant principals, but that's the teachers, the support professionals at the school, and again, most importantly, the students. So we could not have asked and received a better assistant principal of the year in Miss Victoria Hurley. So come on forward. And Ms. Hurley, before you make a few words and before we do a little presentation, the school board members might, I know one particular school board member definitely might have some words for you, and others might as well.
You think I have something to say? I am so thrilled that you're being recognized in this way, certainly most deserving. I think everyone knows that you are a Baker Gator at heart. Growing up there and spending your career there. I got to know Miss Hurley right before she became the district teacher of the year and heard a lot about her as an educator and then met her. She is high energy. She's detailed. If you want anything done, you go to her. And she's enthusiastic about it. Not just I'll do it, but she's excited. And as I've become their board member, of course, she and I have worked on several things together. She is actually, sometimes I choose to call her over Mike. Depends on the topic, but poor Mike, yeah, he's good. But yeah, sometimes it's just, us women can work it out, right? Okay. And one thing too, I want to point out that she had to do, along with the other administrators at Baker, about 2 years ago when Mr. Martello unfortunately had to be out for a time, right at the beginning of the school year. What you guys did as administrative team, and I know a lot, that was you, not just you, but all of you, really was, not the normal, but you did it. And I would call and despite how tired you were and how busy you were, always positive. We're going to get this, and always student focused. And like I said, I'm thrilled that you are being recognized tonight, and just couldn't be happier. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I'll just say, Ms. Hurley, it's been a pleasure over the last 6 years working with you at the school district. Of course, I knew you previous to that, but I also appreciate the fact that, being a mentor at Baker School and Caleb, we've been able to sit down, shoot, just about every week that I go up there, we'll sit down and talk about Caleb. And, if your attention to one student like that, I can just imagine your attention to all the students up at Baker, and they're very blessed to have somebody in your position up there looking out for them. So it has been my honor to be able to work with you over the last few years.
And I'd just like to say that I know your peers recognized you, and that's such an honor in itself. But we also see in the district what you're doing, and we greatly appreciate it. And Mike, his face is turning red when you mentioned maybe taking her, and you mentioned just speaking to Miss Hurley right here. Mr. Martello, it's okay. They're just joking, hopefully. I don't want you sick again. Don't do it. But please know that we thank you, and we do recognize and see what you're doing, and greatly appreciate it.
Thank you
And I'll just add finally that I was on the committee, and there were so many outstanding administrators, as you know. But when I read your submission and all the things that you do and have done, I'll just tell my colleagues, you can imagine how impressive it was. So congratulations, Ms. Hurley, well deserved.
And I'll just end with, when I ran the New Leaders Program, Ms. Hurley was in that program, and she was just like a sponge, soaking it all up, raising her hand, asking important questions, always engaged, and always engaging her peers in that group. So I've followed her career a long time, never having a doubt that she would be a star. She's always been a star, and I love that she is intrinsically passing along those characteristics to her own children, as well as the children that she mentors at Baker School. So congratulations, well earned.
Thank you. Oh, y'all made me blush. You made me blush. So to address the board, I just want to say thank you for all, because as I look at this, I think of Mr. White. We've sat beside each other many honors assemblies and recognizing our students here. And Mr. Bryan, I knew you when you were in leadership role at Publix, and you would come and support me when I was a reading coach and read with our kids. And we developed a relationship that has continued on as you've come to mentor our students. And I sat with Dr. Diane Kelly when I was doing literacy coaching program and a lot of your training. And Ms. Ivanacek, I heard about your name because we share a few things in common long before I got to meet you face to face. But the representation in our school by our school board has been, bar none, the best I've ever seen. I know you all would probably, your schools would say that, but she's the best. And I don't know that you remember this, but many times I took some of my teachers at the school in which I was a coach to visit Blue Water when you were the
Yes,
principal
yeah, I do.
there, and we learned so much. And that's the beauty, I think, of Okaloosa County, is that we learn from each other, that we grow each other. And I feel like all of the recognition that I've gotten is just a culmination of all of that has been poured into me. And so I thank each of you. And I can't go a minute long without saying thank you to Mr. Martello, who trusted me into this position. He probably questioned that a time or two, but I have learned a lot of things. And you mentioned my girls, and my oldest, when she gave a graduation speech, she described to Mr. Martello one time, and I had not ever thought of it, but it stuck with me. She said, some people fight fire with fire, and some people fight fire with water. And it was the best thing that I think that I could say that I've learned from his experience of how to stay calm and how to not react necessarily, or not overreact, and how to handle those difficult situations that sometimes I didn't see when I was on the classroom side of things. So I thank him so much for his mentorship and everything he's poured into us. And I have to say, it's a beautiful thing at Baker, because it's not just a team. We are a team, but it's a family. And if you've been in a K-12 school, you really do understand the family orientation of that, and learning your students, and really learning your teachers, and seeing them come in from the littles to walking across the graduation stage. And it's something that's really special, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve as assistant principal at my school. And then growing in this role and getting to learn a little bit more about the the programs and things that are available for principals and assistant principals and support. I think that it's meant a lot to me to have being able to represent a group of fine assistant principals. When I look around the room, I see lots of talent, some younger, some older, but wow, I mean, our future is very bright in Okaloosa County. So I just want to say that it's an honor to represent that group for this year, and I hope that I will continue to serve my school and you guys very well.
All right. Thank you. Dr. White, you were on the committee. If
Okay.
you'd like to join us as
Sure.
well. Mr. Kelly, you gotta come forward. And the Baker family, if you want to come forward as well, those who are here.
You're more important than I am right now.
Her assistant's not on his job.
Ceded that to somebody else. All right, 1, 2, and 3, here we go. You might get there by the time you sit down.
Thank you, thank you. I'm proud of you.
And that brings us to 3.2, recognition of the 2023 Secondary K-12 Principal of the Year, John Spolsky, presented by the Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair and School Board. And it is again with great pleasure that we recognize what I would consider one of the top principals in Okaloosa County. And I say that knowing the caliber of principals that we have, elementary through high school, and you think about the caliber of principals throughout the state of Florida. And I would put Mr. Spolsky up against any of them. And you look at Mr. Spolsky, who again, he's an instructional leader, and he does it in his way, and it's quite effective. You look at Mr. Spolsky, he is absolutely an advocate for his teachers, for his staff. If you go over there and you speak to his teachers and staff, they absolutely have his back, and that's something that is very clear. You walk down the hallways with Mr. Spolsky. He knows the kids by name. He stops the students. He says, "Come here, young man." And he'll say, "This is so-and-so." Shake their hand, look him in the eye. So he's teaching, being a leader, but he's teaching each and every day. And he's teaching those students what it's like to be a young man or a young woman. And then you talk about school pride. School pride. And you go to a pep rally, and that school has school pride. And they follow the lead of their leader in Mr. Spolsky. And I think it's very evident when you, again, look at staff, you look at students, they absolutely follow his lead. And lastly, I would say he's a leader amongst our principals, and he's a leader in the state of Florida. And literally, he's the president of FASA, which is a group that represents educators. But again, I could not be more proud of Mr. Spolsky. He's representing us for Okaloosa County as our Principal of the Year that we've submitted to the state. And we believe that he would have a good shot, a very good shot, to be Principal of the Year for the state of Florida. So with that, if you would come forward, Mr. Spolsky. And before Mr. Spolsky addresses the board, you all may have something that you might want to say, but Ms. Gardner?
Well, this morning, I had a page full of highlights from Fort Walton Beach High School.
Yes, ma'am.
And you talk about Viking pride. Being a graduate not too many years ago, but I just, what you bring and the pride that you are bringing to the school. And Mr. Chambers, you highlight when you and I walked through the school or were at one of the activities, you just intermingle with the students and the parents and the peers. I mean, you're one of them, but they have such great respect for you. And that's what I love so much. Again, it's that feel, and you have to see it to really to be able to describe it. But again, I'm kind of lost for words because I spent a lot of words this morning going through and talking about different things. But not only did I share about all the many awards, the district champions with our sports teams, but also you have a great focus academically. And I'm so proud that Fort Walton Beach High School is an A school, A+, let's have that, A+ school. So just go Vikings, and thank you for taking the helm and just going with it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Brennan.
you.
Thank you.
Well, I was telling him when we came in, we were walking in together, that I remember distinctly when Mr. Spolsky began his career as a teacher in Okaloosa County. It was not at his current school. It was at the school I was at. And, you know, sometimes, hey, sometimes,
Weave it in there.
yes, I know. But I didn't teach him, Mr. Bryant. I did not teach Mr. Spolsky. I could have. I mean, he's that young, but, you know, sometimes when you're an educator, you see other educators, you just know they're going somewhere. And that's how he was. I mean, he was a science teacher, very well liked and respected by the students, very active. If you've ever been around Mr. Spolsky, he's not a sit-down kind of hangout guy. He's going. You gotta. And then he became our tech person,
Yes, ma'am.
which he probably regrets to this day because that's a tough job. That was back when we were really just getting started with technology in our district. And so he had to work with everybody in the school, so I got to know him. Then he went up the ranks to AP and everything. But I've always admired you and thought that I knew that you were gonna be a star. I knew that from the minute I knew you. We've had a lot of wonderful conversations and a lot of good times working together. And so just like Miss Hurley, it is so thrilling for me, having followed your career, to watch you get this recognition. And it just makes me really happy, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Evangelista.
And there is a reason why he wears those tennis shoes, because he is active.
I know.
All from early morning to late night.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Well, I'll just say that, of course, I've known you for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And you were an outstanding teacher and a good coach and all of those things. And now you're the principal there and have done just a marvelous job. And I will say this, I did have the privilege of having John Spolsky as a student. And he was a very, very good student. I'll just share that with you. So I think Mr. Spolsky tries to excel in everything he does, and I think the evidence says that you've been very successful, John. And now these ladies shame me this morning for not wearing red, and they think I wore this for Valentine's Day, but in fact I wore it for you in Fort Walton Beach High School.
I love it.
I too once taught at Fort Walton Beach High School, so
Yes, sir.
go Vikings.
Yes, sir. Go Vikings. Thank you, Doctor.
Good.
And Mr. Spolsky, just in my short time being on the board, I've had the distinct pleasure of getting to know you, and I know my first visit to your school was probably one of those where you're like, oh, we got a board member from Crestview down here, what's up, you know? But you made me feel welcome, and your entire staff was just incredible. And I remember leaving the school thinking, man, that just for that short time that I was there, just the experience, I mean, I felt like I was a Viking. And of course, I do have my Viking apparel that I do wear when I come visit and all. And I'll just say your leadership shine bright at the graduation this past year.
wow.
As you know, I know Ms. Gardner and I and Mr. Horton were there. What a situation that could have turned into a fiasco really turned out to be a great experience. But I think it was more because people saw your leadership and how you handled that whole situation. Your students took charge, your staff took charge, and like I said, it turned out to be probably one of the best graduations ever in Okaloosa County. But your leadership is definitely second to none, and just your energy, your excitement. That's why I believe Fort Walton Beach is a successful high school, because of your leadership.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Do you remember what the students started chanting? Spolsky.
Oh, yeah, Spolsky, that's right.
Because they knew, I mean, all of the students started chanting that because they knew that Sposki was going to take care of, and he had his
Yep.
tennis shoes on, and he did take care of it.
That's his
Okay.
trademark, those tennis shoes.
Those tennis shoes.
And I'll just say that I really did not know John very well until I was principal at Bruner and had been invited or offered to come back to the district office as director of curriculum. And I said to our superintendent at the time, so if I leave my school, who's going to take the helm? And they told me that John Spolsky was, and I really only knew John Spolsky by reputation. So I said, I think I'll feel good about that. So John and I had many conversations before he got there and after he got there, and so I really learned to admire and respect you there. And I appreciated you there and appreciated your transition to Fort Walton Beach High School, and particularly appreciated the big band that followed both of us and allowed that transition to go so well. So, John, so well deserved, and I'm highly proud of you.
Thank you, Dr.
Well
Kelly.
done.
Thank you. I'll stand here all night. This is great. Holy Moses, I was blushing a little bit there. I almost got teary-eyed, for real. First of all, thank you, Superintendent Chambers. Thank you, Executive Cabinet. Thank you, board members. It's been a ride. I mean, it's not Space Mountain. It's a serious ride, okay? And the administrators that I've gotten to work with, as a young person, you watch them. The ones I work with now, the ones that have retired, some of them have passed away. I'm just absolutely honored to accept this award on behalf of the secondary principals. I see it when I get to go to the other 66 counties. We really have something special here, and it's because of the people, and I'm talking the educators that are left, right, up and down, and all around, okay? And it's absolutely amazing. I'll just give you about a minute of a quick story, and this is kind of how I think of really this wild ride. In December of '93, I graduated. January '94, I student taught with an amazing woman named Elaine Hagan. She was my student teacher. She saved me, taught me, did everything. And that fall, Mr. Bounds hired me, and I started teaching there for 12 years. I transitioned over to Bruner. I had to turn in all my green stuff, and I started wearing orange and blue, and I spent 9 years with the middle schoolers there, and all they needed was just love and structure. That's really where I got to work alongside Dr. White, because I'd already taken classes with him with the principalship, but then we were working on MSAC together, and it really kind of just elevated my whole mind of his expertise. It was amazing. But by that time, I was at Bruner, and we were going through a few different changes, and then Charlene said she was going to step down, and I said, you know what, I love this middle school stuff. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I just felt a calling to go there, but I knew, my family knew after being 12 years in high school that it was really going to be a life change, a 12, 14, 15-hour life change. And we kind of had a meeting at home and said, what do you think? Should we do this? And we decided to do it as a group. So my Elena, my Bridget, and my Laura, have all kind of adjusted their lifestyles to me. My parents have always been just very supportive. And truthfully, all the journeys I've been on have been so rewarding. I'm talking about like through Miss Johnston, Rodney Nobles, Van Krieger, Mike Foxworthy, Arden Farley, all these folks that I learned from, the Varners, Crowders, Deals, you name them. These guys that were here and these women that were here and came through and we're just teaching so much. Didn't even know they were teaching, right? And now all the current administrators, you want to give back. This award tonight isn't just about me, it's about our colleagues, it's about the ones before, and it's about the ones coming. And Mr. Chambers echoed, at our professional development day, Todd Whitaker saying this profession matters. What we do, public education, is so important. I'm an average John. You've heard of an average Joe? I'm an average John. I just worked a little hard because I had a few coaches and a few teachers that would believe in me. And I had some pretty darn good moms and dads, right? My mom and dad are at home probably watching this. I don't know if they get the live stream going, but I'm serious. I'm still changing the time on their VCR. But I am who I am because of that. And I'll just close with, in the old days that we had malls and they had Allmark stores, and my dad gave me a plaque when I was 10 years old, and it had a quote on it that said, "Try not to become a man of success, but rather a man of value." And I still have that plaque. And it's words that I try to live by each day, to try to just find something of value in someone and then try to lift them up. Because if you give someone some confidence in something, they go so far with it. You know, they can go do great things. But my current administrative team back here with Mueller and McDaniel and Hannikin and Mr. Mann and Ms. Hickson Wells, all of them, they're absolutely amazing. My department heads, our teachers, they just want our school to be the best it can be, and that's all you can ask for as a leader. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's shaped me, touched me. Those lunches with Ms. Lightbourne, coaching with Dr. Hale, you know, I mean, all this stuff. Mr. Palmer and I got in so much trouble I couldn't even begin to talk about it. And we just had so much fun. And if you're not having fun in what you're doing, you really need to be thinking about other things you could be doing, because life is very short in the biological sense. So I just want to say thank you so much. Bridge, thanks for putting up with me so much. And I absolutely love Fort Walton Beach. There's really only about 3 or 5 more people I love more than I love coming to work each day. And 3 of them are sitting here, and a few others are at the house, so, and doing their thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, and we won't hold you hostage. If you need to leave, that's fine. Thank you so much. So that brings us to Section 4, Administrative Personnel Appointments. Tonight, we don't have any of those. Section 5, Public Comment for Agenda Items Only. That would be our blue card. I did not receive any of those, but because it is a new process, Mr. Attorney, if you would you go over that process just so
Sure,
that
be happy to.
people in the public will know?
Under the board's process for inviting persons to make public comments, the first section on the agenda at each board meeting will be for those that want to discuss agenda items. And so it will appear on each agenda, and all are welcome who want to come forward and discuss items that are on the agenda or maybe on a future agenda. On the reverse side of these cards, the blue and the yellow, is the set of protocols and guidelines that the board has adopted and put in place to maintain decorum in these meetings. And I would like to highlight just a few of those, if that's okay, Madam Chair. For the agenda item section of public discussion, speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking time. And for the section that will come up near the end of the agenda, which is just general public comment, they'll be allowed 2 minutes of speaking time. We would ask that when you're going to speak, that you come forward and state your name and your address for the record before you begin the presentation. We would ask that remarks and statements be directed through the chairman and not to any one particular board member, and all questions as well would be directed to the chairman, as this is a meeting of the school board. Concerns that you bring forward to discuss should be related to educational issues in the school district. We would ask that personal attacks against officers and personnel be excluded from your presentations and discussions, and items that pertain to personnel matters are under the responsibility of the superintendent, so routinely those are not heard before the school board. Speakers are expected to act in a respectful manner, and we would ask that personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or comments not be included in your address, and your presentation should be free of profanity or obscenities. And then finally, we do have a timer. We have a new one, as a matter of fact, tonight that's been installed. The other one had broken, and we will assist you by keeping time, and you'll be able to see it on the wall. And we would give you a gentle warning when that time is about to expire. We would appreciate you honoring those time limits. So, Madam Chair, that is the process the board has adopted. I might just comment that this first section, as I said, is for agenda item discussion, a blue card. Near the end of the agenda is a yellow card for general public comments, and that is a 2-minute presentation. The protocol and decorum requests apply to both of those.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. I appreciate that. That brings us down to Section 6, which was for the workshop only, committee and staff reports. 6.1 was the quarterly report, service agreements under the $10,000 threshold for internal and budgetary funds, presented by Vince Wyndham. 6.2 was Okaloosa County School District Board internal funds financial statement for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, presented by Julie Perry, and I forgot to thank her today. I wanted to bring that out, that there were no findings there for that audit. And Section 6.3, I also wanted to thank Mayor J.B. Whidden, who was here today, along with Dr. Brown, who accompanied him in their presentation on fentanyl. Section 7, our consent agenda. 7.1, approval of the consent agenda. So I need a motion.
Move it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? So it passed unanimously. 7.2, approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearing of January the 23rd, 2023, workshop meeting of January 23rd, 2023, and minutes of the regular meeting of January 23rd, 2023, recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Hey, Madam Chair, those will all have been covered under that motion.
Okay.
We'll be in Section 8.
Thank you. So we moved on down to Section 8, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations. 8.1, Employees on Administrative Leave, presented by Dr. Lee Hale. 8.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program drop, presented by Lee Hale. 8.3, Finance Department Restructure, presented by Julie Perry. 8.4, Employment Separations.
Wait,
So we have to vote on
Oh,
8.3.
thank
Starting
you.
with
8.3, I need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve 8.3.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. I
I'll
need a
second it.
Second by Ms. Evancheck. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? So it passed unanimously. 8.4, Employment Separations, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Move it.
Moved by Dr. White. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Passed unanimously. 8.5, Personnel Recommendations, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Gardner. Need a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Evancheck. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it passed unanimously. 8.6, Employee Transfers, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Need a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bryant. Need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Passed unanimously. 8.7, Employee Suspension, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Evancheck. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any opposition?
Call for a vote.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. It was approved unanimously. 8.8, Employee Suspension, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Need a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Gardner. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. 8.9, Employee Suspension, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Need
So
a
moved.
motion? Moved by Mr. Bryant. I need a
Second it.
second. Second by Ms. Evancheck. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passed unanimously. 8.10, Employee Termination, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bryant. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Evancheck. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. 8.11, Reinstatement, Reimbursement of Sick Leave due to line of duty, illness, injury, or medical examination, presented by Lee Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval.
I'll move it.
I'll
Move-
second.
Moved by Ms. Evancheck and seconded by Ms. Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. 8.12, Leave Without Pay, presented by Dr. Hale and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Need a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Savanchik. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passed unanimously. That brings us to Section 9. I had nothing moved to the discussion agenda. That brings us to one of my favorite parts. Number 10, Construction Program Owners Representatives Business, 10.1 Status Report by the Board's Representatives. So that will be Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. We had a meeting almost right after the workshop today that was a pretty lengthy meeting. It lasted probably about 2.5 hours. A lot of great information that was on there. In the spirit of time, I am going to go through everything, but I'm going to kind of just highlight some things that are in there because a lot of these things have been on our list here for over a year in some cases. So, but like we say, 30 task orders out there. A few years ago, we probably had maybe 1 or 2 if we were lucky. So, so we'll start with task order number 2, and this is just the district-wide school security upgrade project, the phase 1 of the fencing. And just one item to note here, we're still waiting on for best core at a few schools. Salto installations on new gates at Northwood, Florosa, and Pryor are now complete. And best core issues at Eglin and Antioch have been partially resolved. And rebalancing work at Eglin's front office is now complete. And retrained staff on the thermostat settings and additional HVAC unit installation in the lobby is the backup plan. Task order number 4 is the Baker Kitchen renovation and Pryor Middle School renovation. Pryor is now officially opened, so there is some minor punch items still remaining, but the project was completed in late January, and food is now being served at the newly renovated kitchen as of last week. So if we go to task order number 12, these are the district-wide sales tax construction projects, and this includes our multi-purpose buildings. Bless you out there. Fort Walton Beach High School was the beginning, and they're moving along pretty good. Ductwork installation is at 80% complete. If you have a chance to go in there, they have their, it's looking really good. A lot of the outside is still has some work to be done on it, but everything else is moving right along pretty good. And then Crestview is right behind it with the installation of the pre-engineered metal building, and the installation is complete. Painting of the structure was completed, and plumbing rough end has begun, and framing is about 80% complete. Baker is next, and the plumbing rough end is plumbing rough end to prepare for the first slab pour was completed and inspected. Slab framework and preparation work has begun in advance of the first slab placement, and pre-engineered metal building structure arrived on site. So, Ms. Savanchik, I know next time you go out there, you'll be able to probably see some framework going up.
Yeah.
Choctaw, if we're not, it seems like we must have been doing a lot of digging there. We've dug up and replaced and dug up again more on the sanitary and sewer service, but this is now complete with the new structures installed. The slab area is backfilled and formed, and underground utility work for the slab is ongoing. And Niceville High School, you have the site demolition work has begun, and the revised construction fencing layout was completed, including new sidewalks and gates for student staff circulation around the area. Classroom additions, and I'll just say we have Silver Sands, Elliott Point, Crestview High School, and Laurel Hill School all under construction right now. And we got word today, Dr. Smith, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are hoping to be so far ahead of schedule on those that we hope to have them all ready to go by the upcoming school year. So that was some exciting news there to hear. And what does that mean? It means that we get those construction groups out into other projects, and hopefully get those other projects ahead of speed there too. And that gets us to the cafetoriums, which is the big projects. And I see Ms. Armstrong is here. Hers is on the first of the list. And I know she's excited because she's seeing things turn over there. And I know Mr. Nuss is here too with his classroom additions. And you know, it's exciting to see that. But the cafetoriums will be up next, and that will be Edwin's, Wright, Ruckel, Plough, Bob Sykes, and Shalimar. So really exciting to see those projects going to be getting off the ground. Of course, those will start after we get those classroom additions going, but really, I mean, all of the schools going after we get those classroom additions going. So we'll look at task order number 16, roofing and canopy projects at Choctaw High School and Lewis School. These are now 100% complete. A GMP for the front entry projects will be submitted in February for 2023 for approval. And exciting to see some of the great things that are going to be happening at Choctaw and Lewis with the new front end look. And then task order number 17, the roof replacement at Blue Water Elementary and Walker Elementary is, we hope to get that going right before school gets started, or right before school lets out, probably around spring break, but it should be completed by the time school starts. I have a Walker is near and dear to my heart, and we have one classroom that this is going to help that remedy that whole situation by getting that roof done, and I know that teacher will be excited to get this done. Ms. Appleberg is shaking her head. But that's going to happen, Ms. Appleberg. So. And then task order 19, this is the Richburg School Building 12 renovations. And for those that might not be familiar with Richburg School, this is when it was Richburg Junior High, Richburg Middle School. This was the front office area. And if you've been over there lately, you know we can't use it. It's really not safe for any use at all. But I'm excited to say that this is going to get done, and it's going to be a functioning part of the school that the students can use, the staff will be able to use. Really exciting to see that part of the school finally get taken care of. Task order number 20, and these are the 2022 through 2023 priority roofing projects. And design work progressed to the CD level for the Longwood Elementary re-roofing project, and a GMP was submitted and approved in January. The project has been awarded and a contract issued to Acme Roofing, and this work will begin late in the month. CD drawings have been received for Fort Walton Beach High School, Silver Sand School, Niceville High School, Ruckel Middle School, Laurel Hill School, Crestview High School, and Richburg for their roofing projects, which is included in the priority list. And we're reviewing these drawings and beginning the estimating process. And then Crestview High Building 8D was added to this package, and this is going to help that roof for technical classes. And once we get that done, then we'll go in and remodel the class itself to better suit those students for that particular need. And then task order number 21, the Longwood Elementary School classroom renovation. And the GMP is expected in February of 2023. And I think everything, we talked about that today, all the designs, everything's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting it going. Is that correct, Dr. Smith? Is that, and we hope to have that project completed by the time school starts in 2023. So exciting to hear that. So those that are familiar with Longwood, that's our, you know, what do we call that particular design? It's a open concept. We're going to close that concept, so it's exciting for that school. Task order number 22 is time and materials district-wide ADA sidewalk and parking lot striping. And this is sidewalks have been formed and placed at Florosa, Longwood, and Mary Esther Elementary Schools and Pryor Middle School. And sidewalks are still needed at Bruner, Edge, Lewis, and Shoal River. And these are more just to get them up to ADA standards. It's not that we're actually replacing or making sidewalks. These are just getting them up to ADA compliance. And then Niceville High School, the OCR sidewalk requirements are being handled during the construction of their multi-purpose building. And then task order number 23, these are the high school auditorium updates. Really excited. This is going to help with all the high schools with their auditoriums. We're working on lighting, just general maintenance of the auditoriums, getting them up to date. Really excited about that. And then task order number 24 is the Central Administration Complex renovation phase 1, and the design work is complete, including minor design modifications, which were received in January, and estimating work is complete, and the delivery of GMP will coincide with the project funding. So exciting about that. And then we'll go down to task order number 28. These are the district-wide Phase 2 security upgrades, and we're still in the process of evaluating all field data that has been collected and developing design drawings for each campus that captured the proper scope of work. And then task order number 29 is the CTE renovations at Crestview High School and Titans Commercial Building. And all the drawings have been received and are being reviewed by the district, and additional design development is still needed for the electrical and mechanical scope of work at both sides. And the Triumph grant process is ongoing and will require additional information to proceed successfully. And then finally, task order number 30 is the time and materials construction of new electrical services at Lewis and Crestview High School and upgrades at Niceville High School. I believe that we've already started the process of putting new lights at Niceville, and Lewis will be, Crestview will be next, and then Lewis will follow up. So we'll have all new lighting, and well, for Lewis, it will be new lighting, period. So that's exciting for the students at Lewis. And that is pretty much it. Our next Citizens Oversight Committee meeting is in March, and I know Mr. Belcher is planning on attending a meeting to kind of go over the Citizens Oversight Committee. And also there was some talk about the new Crestview School and the Destin Elementary addition. These are things that are going to be upcoming as we move forward. But other than that, Madam Chair, it was a busy meeting. I know I kind of rushed through some of it, but a lot of information in there, a lot of great information. So.
A lot of good things happening.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mr. Bryant. So that brings us down to section 11, attorney's business.
Yes, Madam Chair. As I mentioned in the workshop, we have two legal services retainer agreements tonight. These deal with attorneys that have worked with the district on COP issues in the past. Attorney George Smith has been bond counsel for the district for a number of years and has opened a separate firm. And so there's an agreement here tonight with his new firm, George A. Smith, PLLC, to continue as bond counsel, and then an agreement with Bryant Miller Olive, PA, to continue as disclosure counsel. And we would ask your consideration of approval of these two retainer agreements.
You need a single motion or
One
separate?
motion could approve them both.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
And
sec- I'll second.
So I have a motion by Dr. White and a second by Ms. Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? So it passed unanimously. Thank you.
And then the final item is just item information. We do need to schedule an attorney-client session to discuss a matter of pending litigation. It's in case number 322-CV-08881, which is pending in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. And this is proposed to be scheduled before your next workshop, so it would be February 27th at 8:00 a.m.
Thank you.
And that's
very
all I
much.
have tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. That brings us down to section 12, superintendent's business. 12.1 is out-of-state student trip request approved by the superintendent. 12.2, correspondence request and other matters by the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School Board, just three quick pieces. One, wanted to let you know that we've shared that we'll have departments giving different updates each school board workshop, and we didn't do one today. I gave some updates today, but next school board meeting we will have a half-cent sales tax update. Mr. Horton and his crew will do that, but we'll also have an update with FSBIT and insurance, which we'll be looking at as well, so there'll be a lot of good information. I'd also like Ms. Perry just to come up really quickly and just do a quick highlight of 6.2.
Yes, sir. We just wanted to say how proud we are of our 37 schools with internal funds. I mean, they handle $10 million a year, and it's a group effort for the whole school, with the teachers collecting money and everything. Out of those 37 schools, 25 had absolutely no findings. 12 had a few low-level findings, but no one had any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, so we're just really proud of the job they did.
Explain
That's
low
awesome.
level so that people really understand how low it really is.
Yes,
It
well,
might be a date. it might
there's
be-
4 levels of findings,
Mhm.
and most of them were in level 1, and then there were some level 2, and there were just some little improvement points type things. And like I said, the significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, those are the top levels. Absolutely none of those.
That's awesome.
And so, Ms. Perry, like
Excuse me.
Ms. Gardner was mentioning, so some of that might be a signatures that is missed. What might be an example of that?
Yes, it could be that a check requisition, maybe a signature was missed on a check requisition. I should have brought my computer up to look at this.
Missing date, I
A stamp
remember
missing,
something.
a stamp
Mhm.
missing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the stamp was
Like
one
you're
that
all-
was-
yeah, yes.
And I was just going to ask Ms. Perry, for the public's benefit, I think you said $10 million
Yes, sir.
in school internal accounts. And
Mhm.
for the public's benefit, what would be some of those kinds of internal accounts? I mean, what would they be?
We fundraisers,
For
there's going to be a lot of it.
programs, maybe for band
Sport.
or
Oh, yes.
course and
Mhm, mhm.
clubs and
Clubs, the
athletics? and-
tickets, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when we say $10 million, when we start talking about all the paperwork associated with that, all the numbers of transactions,
And all
any
that-
idea
yes.
about how many pieces of paper?
And there's so many hands in each transaction too, and you have to rely on everybody to do their job. I mean, we're relying on volunteers, we're relying on our teachers and everything to collect money for tickets and to collect money in classrooms and then it takes everybody to have a good audit. It really does.
It's a massive
It
amount
is,
of
it is.
transactions and numbers, and all of those folks are trying to do all of those things in accordance with the accounting principles and the auditing requirements that you're talking about. So
Yes, sir.
I would say yes, good job to
Yes, we're
you,
very
your
proud.
folks, the schools, and everyone involved. So thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, we mentioned this morning at the school board workshop, we mentioned that it is February, and we are celebrating Black History Month. And I think you also know, as we go back to January, which Martin Luther King Jr., and we had the poster oratorical contest as well as the parade as well. But just a couple highlights of many of the things that are going on in the school district. I did want to say that the theme is celebrating the achievements of African American Floridians. The state of Florida is also recognizing Black History Month and putting out activities as well. But we are taking part in door decorating contests where we're looking to celebrate Black history in a positive and meaningful way. Also, there's art contests that are happening in the elementary, middle, and high schools. We are taking part in the state art and essay contest and education award. And then we're also doing spotlights where each day there's a different fun fact that is given out to schools just in honor of Black History Month. And then I would say these are some of the highlights at the district level, and then schools are also embarking on their own activities and teachers in their own classrooms as well. Just wanted to give that update to the board.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that brings us to section 13, board members' announcements and/or requests for information. And this morning I started with Mr. Bryant. Tonight I think I'll start with Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. I spent quite a bit of my time this morning, I think Mr. Bryant's time and Dr. White's time, because I had so many things to share about the great things going on down on the south end at Fort Walton Beach High School and at Destin Middle School and Bruner. Again, boys and girls that were being very successful in these sports teams. But I'd just like to remind everyone that Wednesday night, the boys soccer, they were, of course, the district winners. They just passed Saturday, won the Sweet 16. Wednesday night, they're going to be playing in the Elite Eight. I'm a soccer fan. That's why I keep kind of promoting that. It's going to be, like I said, Wednesday at the Steve Riggs Stadium, which is Fort Walton Beach High School. So if you want to watch something exciting, go out to the soccer game this coming Wednesday. And I will stop there because I did spend all of our time this morning.
You did well. Ms. Evanchik.
Yes, just want to remind everyone, if they didn't hear this morning, about the College and Career Fair coming up March 4th. It's on our website and the high school website. And do want to, again, wish those 10 girls coming out of Baker for weightlifting and state a safe trip and bring back the gold for Okaloosa.
Yay. Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And I do have just one announcement. Just out of Crestview High School, just want to congratulate Troy Young. Troy was awarded the Robert and Amy Harper Scholarship at the International Builder Show in Las Vegas, which was in January 31st through February 2nd. Out of 72 schools in the state of Florida and over 300 schools in the nation, Troy won the award for his achievements in the building trades program at Crestview High. He has earned 6 certifications in construction and HVAC, as well as become a lead project manager and designer of the capstone project in his class. The Robert and Amy Harper Scholarship is awarded to one high school student who plans a career in the trades. In addition to the cash scholarship, Troy was awarded an admission to the IBS flight, to the IBS meeting, and his flight and hotel were all paid for, and his guests that came with him. So,
Very good.
pretty
Dr.
big
White.
award.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, I'd like to express congratulations to the Choctaw cheerleaders for being designated as regional champions, state champions, and placing 11th in the nation. And also good luck to the Choctaw girls weightlifters who also qualified for the state weightlifting meet in Lakeland, Florida. Congratulations to Pryor Middle School archery team who qualified for the state tournament. And this was interesting. Meigs Middle School will be conducting flag football tryouts. And that'll be taking place in February 21st and 22nd. And then finally, happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and my Valentine and I, who will celebrate our 53rd
Oh.
Valentine's Day.
Super.
Yeah,
Dr.
so,
Kelly,
thank you.
if I can
Sure.
I make another quick announcement? We have two athletes and one coach who are have a chance to be recognized as the offensive player, defensive player, and year of the coach of the year. This is by the FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, and we have Caleb Wagner from Baker, Cole Tabb from Choctaw, and head coach Frank Beasley from Choctaw. I know Coach Beasley and Cole were like first ahead in theirs, and Caleb was pretty close. So I encourage everybody to go out and vote. You can vote for
We
each
do.
of them,
Mm-hmm.
and let's
Yes.
get them to the top. So it'd be nice to have all 3 of them representing our
You can
county.
vote every day also.
That's right. Well, that is super. And I won't repeat all of the announcements I made this morning, but I will just say, again, we're appreciative of the Ocean City Wright Fire Control District and its firefighter EMT scholarship opportunity, and I appreciated understanding that we had a student from Laurel Hill who won and is already on the job, making that great salary. So that's a great scholarship testimonial there, and I think we have one from Rocky Bayou about to finish and be ready to start. So those are great testimonials to your scholarship. Thank you for providing that opportunity for our students. And I think I neglected to say this morning that the deadline is March 31st to get those applications in. So thank you for that again. And the last thing I'll say is this is Hope Week for the Hope Squads in our district. So on Thursday is Hope Day, so don't forget to wear yellow on Hope Day on Thursday. And so that brings us to section 14, public comment, the general public comments on the yellow card. And Mr. McGinnis, I do have one.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes.
And as I spoke earlier and outlined the protocols and requests for decorum, we would invite Ms. Sims to come forward and make her public comments, and you'll have 2 minutes to make those comments.
Well, you pretty much answered what I was gonna bring up about African-American history.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for still supporting that, because it's a concern of ours. I am on the NAACP, the education chairperson. And so I told them I would come here for this and to see where we're standing in this district, because it's still important to still have that taught in our schools. And I do have the binder that Ms. Seals put together that included that from K through 12 that is being taught. So thank you for bringing that up. And so you answered my question pretty much.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. So, and they would like to invite you to our meeting next month to, as our guest, if you willing to come.
Give me an invite.
Huh?
I said, give me an invite.
Okay, I'll talk to someone in here, get in touch with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for your input. And that brings us to section 15, unless there are any other comments from the district staff or anyone else. Any other comments? Okay, well, at this time, we will adjourn.